Hey there, Knicks fans. It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, here with you for a very special announcement about something we are all very excited about here at Knicks Film School. Yes, it is the return of Fanatics Fest, which is taking over the Jacob Javits Center in New York City from Thursday, July 16th through Sunday, July 19th. This is an opportunity for you to meet all of your favorite athletes in every major league, catch some live podcasts and panels featuring some of the biggest names in sports, and experience interactive activations from top leagues and brands. This is a chance for you to check out all kinds of memorabilia, buy, sell, and trade collectibles, and of course, interact with other fans from around the world. Tickets are on sale now at fanaticsfest.com, and when you use your promo code KnicksFilm10 at checkout, you will get 10% off your purchase. It is an extra day of the world's #1 sports fan festival coming together under one roof, and you will not want to miss it. Okay, welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. It is your boy, Jonathan Macri, here to talk to you about a frustrating loss. A loss that is going to give us a lot to chew on and even more to complain about. This one is going to sting a little bit. And final score of 123-117. Thought for a minute that it was going to be yet another miraculous comeback in the city of Boston, thanks to perhaps the best game of Mikal Bridges' Knick career. And unfortunately, it was not to be, in large part because of what I would say is pretty comfortably Jaylen Brunson's worst game as a member of the New York Knicks. And look, I really don't want to sit here and start this post game out by killing a guy that I have said for a while now is my favorite Knick ever. He is. And he's still obviously going to be. He could have a dozen more games like this in a row. He'd still probably be my favorite Knick ever. But it would be unfair to start anywhere else other than with Jaylen Brunson, because y'all know if this was, if this was Mikal Bridges last year after all them picks, you know what people would be saying. If this was Josh Hart, really at any time, but especially last year and maybe in the early portion of this season, you know how this one would go. If this was, my Lord, if Karl-Anthony Towns just had the game that Jaylen Brunson had, I don't think I'd get any sleep, because the super chats would just keep me up all night with trade proposals, with is there a pitchfork or a torch emoji available? Does YouTube have that? Because people would have certainly made light of that, in addition to just every expletive known to man. And we're going to get to Cat, because Cat, his numbers ended up really good. Cat is not without fault in this game. You know, you could argue that the game turned because of some Cat stuff there in the second quarter, and he had another not so great moment in the second half with man, what a time for a behind the back dribble. But I can't sit up here and kill Cat tonight. The guy had 29 points on 19 shots, and defensively, he was no worse than anybody else. That's for shit sure. No, this has to be about Jaylen Brunson, and I want to make very clear that nothing that I'm saying right now, or nothing that I will say, or that is going to get brought up tonight, changes what he means to this franchise, changes how he is an MVP candidate, changes the fact that he is, in all likelihood and should make an All-NBA team. But again, just got to call it like it is. It's the worst game of Jaylen Brunson's Knick career. He's had some bad ones. He's had some rough shooting nights. You even look at the field goal attempts, 6 for 21, not that different from the other night against whoever the hell they just beat, Toronto, when he was 6 of 19. This one felt 180 degrees different from that. That game, it felt like even though he was missing shots, he was still in command of the game. He was still the engine of the offense. The good things were still happening because of everything he was doing. Tonight felt the opposite of that. Tonight felt like a game where Jaylen Brunson did not have it going. And instead of perhaps trying to get others involved, and I know he had 11 assists. I got it. Trust me. And that's a nice number. But it felt like he kept trying to get himself going on a night when he just did not have it. And at some point, it really started to hurt the Knicks. And yet, his offense tonight was not the least of my issues. I actually, like, if there's going to be anybody in the history of the Knicks franchise that I have watched in 30 plus years that I would say, has the right to, if he is 6 for 19, take the 20th field goal attempt. If he's 6 for 20, take the 21st field goal attempt. It's Jaylen Brunson. He has the right to do that, you know? So, like, I could sit here and criticize him for that. And I'm sure people will. I'm not losing an ounce of sleep over that because Jaylen Brunson, we know what he's going to do in the offensive end. The part that was frustrating, and I can't really blame Jaylen Brunson for this, which is the troubling part, is that we were reminded again of the limitations of a defense with him on it against good competition, against real competition, against competition that has a head coach, the likes of Joe Mazzulla, who is not going to give any fucks. You want to talk about a head coach? You thought Tibbs was bad? Joe Mazzulla might give less fucks than Tibbs. And if he sees an advantage, if he sees a paper cut, he will go at that motherfucker with a hacksaw. And in Jaylen Brunson, at least since the day that Joe Mazzulla took over as Celtics head coach, no team in the league has been as consistently merciless at targeting him. Yeah, they've gone at Cat too. We all remember the Jason Tatum pick and rolls with Cat and drop that made us want to pull our hair about. Like that, pull our hair out. That was bad. It was really bad. But with Jaylen Brunson, it's almost as if Mazzulla takes a special joy in how his team is able to just go at Brunson again and again and again and again with on these switches. And it's funny because the Knicks for years avoided the switch famously. And then they finally gave into the switch last year, more with Cat than with Brunson, but they gave into the switch during the playoff series. It spooked the Celtics just enough. It spooked their record-setting offense just enough to keep the Knicks attached in those first couple of games, if you call being down 20 attached. And then we know what happened in the fourth quarters of game 1 and 2. But even then, it's not like the Knicks solved that problem. It's not like they were like, oh, we solved how to defend the Celtics offense. They were up by 20 points in both 4 quarters. And then we know what happened over the rest of that series. So this has always been an issue. And I thought Joe Mazzulla, I have to think he took special pride tonight. It's like, all right, you want to switch willingly? I got something for y'all. And boy, did him and his guy, Jaylen Brown, have something for the Knicks. And it was painful. And it was painful to watch. And it was so bad that when Jaylen Brown came into the game, and we're going to get to Bridges in a minute, I promise. They put Mikal Bridges on him. But in the NBA today, that's why there's no such thing as a shutdown defender anymore. There's no such thing. And like, is Mikal Bridges the best at getting around screens and staying attached to his man? No, he's not, which is why he has moved off the ball this year and why his defensive emergence has happened, is because he's not guarding the ball as much. But even I thought he was staying attached to Brown pretty well when they were coming and setting those screens in the fourth quarter. But Brunson was staying and he was putting 2 on the ball. And this happened 3 or 4 times down the stretch there when the Knicks really needed a stop. And it was like he might as well not have even been there, because Brown still got off the ball so easily. And then it was just a 4-on-3 situation, and the Celtics hit their threes. But it was like Brunson didn't have an effect there at the point of attack, putting 2 on the ball. He couldn't get back in the play. And then on the rare occasions where they didn't switch Brunson into the action throughout this game, Brunson inevitably ended up on Walsh, Jordan Walsh, who's carving out a hell of a nice NBA career for himself. All of a sudden, and Brunson couldn't keep him off the glass. Jordan Walsh, 4 offensive rebounds tonight. I would wager you that most, if not all of those, came with Jaylen Brunson in the vicinity. So, look, Jaylen Brunson's never going to probably play a offensive game in his life as bad as this one. I'm not worried about that. I frankly don't even care about it. The defensive stuff, like for all the shit that we talk about with starting lineups and rotations and Cat doing silly shit, the thing that is, and to be clear, this problem was exacerbated when they traded for Karl-Anthony Towns. There's no two ways about it. But the problem existed before the Cat trade. And now the problem is bigger, which is that among every contender in the league, you look at Denver, you look at Houston, you look at obviously OKC, even Cleveland. Like, I know Darius Garland has not been great this year, but like the thing that made the Cavs so formidable last year is that both Garland and Mitchell stopped being complete traffic cones on the defensive end. They started taking some pride in what they did. And I'm not saying it's a pride issue for Jaylen Brunson, although we have seen him be better. But again, there is no contending team. I mean, you know, say what you want about Austin Reeves on the Lakers. He's at least 6, whatever the hell he is, 6'5", 6'6". No other team has this problem with a guy that has a target as big on his back and as brightly painted red as Brunson. And tonight, I think, was probably the first reminder of the season of, look, if a team wants to go after it, they're just going to go after it. And there's nothing the Knicks could do about it. There really is. Now, I will stop there, and I will say that the reason why I am not going to lose too much sleep over everything that I just talked about, for as much as I do think it is a big picture, long-term issue, and it has been, you know, the whole time, is because when OG Anunoby is on the floor, it makes all the difference in the world. When you pair OG Anunoby with Mikal Bridges, even if you hunt out Jaylen Brunson and you get Jaylen Brunson into a disadvantageous situation, when you have OG in help, plus Mikal Bridges in help, there are very few teams that can react and shoot and play make to the degree that you need to be able to beat that. And the Celtics, give them credit, they hit all the shots they needed to down the stretch. But again, there was no OG on the floor. When OG is there, now, are there teams that are still going to be good enough offensively to even still get at you there? Yes. Especially when Cat's on the floor? Yes. Although, again, I didn't have a problem with Cat's defense tonight. So I'm not about to go there. But so big picture wise, when OG is back, pair him with Mikal, you know, you're going to mitigate these issues to some extent. But tonight was just, it hurt. It hurt watching our guy who we love, who we prop up, who Mike Brown said after, I forget, one of the last 2 games. I think it wasn't the last game, because the last game Brunson didn't shoot well. It was the game before that he should be mentioned in MVP conversations. Like, this is the reason why Jaylen Brunson's never going to be even in the top 3 of MVP, because there are 2 sides to the court. The defensive metrics are what they are. There was a chart going around Twitter today. They've been there. They were there. They were this way last year. They're this way again this year. This just is what it is. It is a situation the Knicks are going to need to overcome, and that hasn't changed. It just was especially painful tonight. Again, will Boston or any good offense, and Boston is a great offense, be as comfortable as they were tonight when OG is back? No, they won't. But, you know, it is what I mean. And it's like, and again, the extra frustrating part is I was listening to the pregame with Andrew and Noah. Great pod, but between them and Noah asked Andrew, was like, oh, so Jaylen Brunson, I know he's not like one of your stronger defenders, but is he just like, does he fight? Does he battle? And Andrew was like, well, yeah, he doesn't give in. And Noah was like, oh, so he's like Peyton Pritchard. And Andrew just kind of let that one sit out there. And I almost choked when I heard that. Peyton Pritchard looks like fucking Tony Allen compared to Jaylen Brunson, and you saw it in this game. There were times where the Knicks got an advantage down the floor, and who was the man back but Peyton Pritchard, and whoever had the ball wouldn't drive because Peyton Pritchard could at least stand his ground. Jaylen Brunson can't do that, and it's painful. It's unfortunate, and it is what it is. So there you go. Next time Cat has a bad game and I go in on Cat for, 16 and a half minutes, don't tell me I didn't do the same thing for fucking Cap. So there's that. Other takeaways from this game. Depth. The depth stood out again, and not in a good way. In a game in which the team scored 117 points, the bench scored 10 points. Jordan Clarkson, I thought, was an atrocity in the first half. Tyler Kolek, I thought, was exposed. He had a couple of nice moments, but again, against a real basketball team, you wonder if Tyler Kolek's going to be able to stay out there and contribute. Mitchell Robinson, there's going to be people, and I don't think it's completely unfair that say the game turned when they started getting in Cat's head and started figuring out a coverage that worked against Cat in the first half, and then Cat started going after it in unproductive ways, and it kind of, put the Knicks offense into stopped it cold. I would argue that the Hakamich was where the offense really started to kind of get out of sorts, even though they momentarily actually took advantage of that situation when he got hacked with 1:59 to go in the quarter and Brunson hit a free throw. Yabu, it was interesting that, Mike Brown thought that Cat was so out of sorts in the first half that he did not even put Karl-Anthony Towns back in the game to end the first half. Wasn't in foul trouble either. Didn't put Cat back in the game. Decided instead to go with Yabu at the 5 just to try to get something going. Yabu, not much there tonight. So the depth really stood out. Cat, look, Cat's going to get a lot of shit because Cat always gets shit when he has moments like this in games. And I'm just going to keep repeating the thing that I said after I went on a Cat diatribe, and I, did my best to apologize for going over the top. When it's that when Cat is bad, the bad is louder than anybody else's bad. It echoes to the back of the auditorium, and we as fans, me as a fan at least, I'm trying to be better about not letting the loud get to me. But I do often wonder, and again, I couldn't help but think of this when he did not get back on the floor in the first half. And then when Brown took him out after that behind the back dribble, I wonder if it gets to his team a little bit, because it's just so loud. I don't really have another word for it. And yet 29 points on 19 shots. Cat was not the reason they lost tonight. I'll just say that plainly. Great start to the game for Josh Hart. Great start to the game for Deuce McBride. Both of those guys were quiet for the rest of the night. I do not blame Deuce for that. It seemed like the ball was not finding him, which again, if you look at the point guard for that. Josh Hart was interesting because he finishes with 19 points on 7-11 shooting. And yet it seemed, I don't want to say he lost his confidence as the night went on, but it seemed like he just didn't want to shoot it anymore. Look, he put up 7 threes, and I'm never going to be unhappy with Josh Hart putting up 7 threes. But there were moments where it wasn't like a record scratch, but where he got the ball and he was open and he just, I don't know what else to say. He didn't want to shoot it. And look, I'm making a lot probably out of a little because again, Josh Hart was not the reason they lost this game. Although, again, if you want to point to where the problems in this game started, I would say more than Cat doing some silly shit, more than the Hackimich, I think the problems in this game started when they stopped defending at the end of the first quarter. And there were some Josh Hart blow-bys there. And obviously that, Jaylen Brunson, that's where his issues really started as well. So, and look, they tried hard on Brown. That didn't really pay dividends. That didn't work. So they didn't have an answer for Jaylen Brown all night long. What a game from Jaylen Brown. Should absolutely be in the not top tier of the MVP conversation, because that's kind of already closed off, but like absolutely should be in the MVP conversation. He's putting up insane numbers for a Boston team that is 12-9, missing their best player. So great job by him. And then I'll save the good thing for last. Mikal Bridges, I'll just read his stat line: 35 points on 17 shots. He was 8 of 12 from three. Boy, oh boy, with that last three that he attempted, I want that to go down. 6 rebounds, 3 assists. I tweeted out during the game towards the end of it, like, should Mikal Bridges be in the most improved conversation? And like, obviously, guy who once finished second in defensive player of the year and warranted the pick package that he warranted is not going to be in that conversation, nor should he. But find me a veteran player who looks different, like in a good way, more than Mikal Bridges does this season versus last season. And I don't know, like, was it like there's the personality part of it with Tibbs, and then there was how Tibbs utilized him on both ends of the floor. And I don't know what the breakdown is. Is it 60-40 usage versus personality? Is it 70-30? Is it 70-30 the other way? Did they just like not like each other? And did it completely throw Bridges off completely? Whatever it was. Like I said it earlier this season. I said it in one of the first couple of games, maybe the first game. I said, if all that the Tibbs firing did was give us this version of Mikal Bridges, it's worth it. Because when you make the investment to trade as much as you did for this guy, and you get back as little as they got back last year. And I know we had a couple of moments with the fuck them picks and the couple of plays at the end of the Boston game 1 and 2, but Mikal Bridges did not have a good season. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. He had one really good month. He had the really good month of December, and that's it. And he made some nice plays in, at the end of those games. There were important plays. He had some really big fourth quarters in the playoffs. He was not good. Not by his standards. He was not good. Now, you could turn that around and say, well, why was he not good? Because he wasn't being used properly, which, you know what? Amen to that. Because he wasn't. What we're seeing from him now, this is how you use Mikal Bridges. And I think because he's being used properly on defense, and because he's been given a little bit more to do, or excuse me, used properly on defense and being given a little bit more to do on offense, and is being used properly on offense, I think all of that's adding up. And we're seeing a guy that, again, I don't, at this rate, I don't think the Knicks are going to get a second All-Star. I think it's a fun conversation to have, which is the second guy that they should get if they got a second one. So, that's really it. I don't really have anything else to say about this game. Again, frustrating, annoying. It's going to seem like the sky is falling because of how they lost, because of the big picture stuff that isn't going away. And because like this team is going to again start to get a little bit of a reputation of like, okay, wake me when they win a game against a good team that is playing well, and I don't want this season to turn into that, but it is. I will tell you right now, the response to the negative response to this game will outweigh the positivity of the 4 wins that came before it. And I don't think it's going to be close, and they could win the next 2 games after this against Charlotte and Utah. And if they lose to Orlando, it's going to be even more to that degree. That's what happens when you're a contender. That's what happens when you go all in. And here we are.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.